Man, I love Dick so much. The way it flops around and just hits everything. Anyways, here's how I would characterize Nightwing in the DCU. One of my favorite Dick Grayson moments is in Young Justice when he's getting therapized by Black Canary. And he's like, I want to be a hero, but I don't want to be Batman. And so I think the first thing we need to do is address his relationship with Batman, because that's the most important thing here. I would say Dick was Robin for like 3 to 5 years before things started to turn sour. Not because he didn't want to live in Batman's shadow anymore, that's just stupid. Maybe ever so partially because of that. The main reason is a difference in ideologies. As Nightwing got older, the less he was inclined to Batman's style. He didn't agree with Batman's idea of vengeance and justice. He didn't like Batman's main philosophy as a hero of fear. He didn't like how Batman was so brutal with his enemies. He wanted to do something different. He wanted to be different. And so part of Nightwing's arc in the first movie could be learning that his way can work as well, if not better than Bruce's. Adding on to Nightwing's relationship with Batman, his greatest fear, Dick Grayson, is becoming like Bruce Wayne, becoming the Batman. What do I mean by that? Bruce, at his core, is a traumatized little boy, but Nightwing doesn't want to let his trauma define him. He wants to move on and move past what happened to him as a kid. Now let's talk about his personality. At his base level, he's similar to that of a Spider-Man or a Nathan Drake. He's very charismatic, funny, witty, charming. He makes a lot of jokes. He's very confident and hopeful and optimistic. Now, peeling back these layers, we're going to jump to the core of his character. Nightwing is a circus performer at heart. What does that mean? It means he's constantly performing, putting on a smile when he doesn't feel like it, acting confident even though he's not. He has performance anxiety, right? He fears that he's not good enough or he'll never be a good enough hero. He's scared to let his vulnerabilities out because he wants to be perceived as this perfect man and a perfect hero. But he learns throughout the course of the movie that letting his vulnerabilities out, that's what makes him a good hero. That's what makes him better than Batman. Batman is very closed off and isolated. You know, he's viewed as this mythological figure. Nightwing is more open. And if he wants to be this beacon of hope that people can relate to, he has to be relatable. And so how would we express that? Well, off the top of my head, you can have a scene in a movie where he's trying to save a little kid, but the little kid being too afraid to accept his help, Nightwing has to sit down with him and be like, I know you're afraid. I am too. And that's okay. Now let's talk about the action, because to me, everything else comes second to this. Nightwing's action should feel like a young prime Jackie Chan. He's constantly doing flips and flip kicks and kip up kicks. Like the way he fights falls under the category of doing too much, but for him, it just comes naturally. He's overwhelming all of the enemies with his movements, right? Batons flying around everywhere, Dick flying around everywhere. Imagining something like the nunchuck scene from John Wick Chapter 4. But yeah, those are my thoughts, let me know.